Okay, so here we go. I'm Pete. I'm just going to run you through a few things on my new setup that I've done this year. Last year I ended up having the Certikin gas boiler along with the Dream 12 kilowatt heat pump. I realised the way I done it was probably the wrong way of doing it. Ideally, them Certikin gas boilers are amazing boilers, absolutely amazing bits of kit. They heat your pool up in no time at all, but to run them off a 47 kilo bottle, you're talking lots of money. What I've decided to do this year is I sold both of my heaters and decided to invest in something a little bit bigger. This one's a 32 kilowatt heat perfector. It kicks out a lot of heat and is more or less equivalent to both the heaters that I used to have. I've had this running for 3 days now at about 6 hours a day due to the noise levels, obviously. And currently, well, yesterday around about 5 o'clock it got to its maximum temperature, which I set to 32 degrees centigrade. This morning when I switched it on, despite having the pool covered up overnight, which I will always emphasize, the pool temperature dropped to 29. I switched it on about an hour ago and currently we're at 30.02. Right, on to the plumbing side of things. I've had a lot of questions about plumbing supplies and fittings, etc, etc. So what I'll do is I'll guide you through the setup that I've got currently. At the end of this video, if you want to have a look through, I will put some links to some of the parts that I've used and I commonly use, along with where you can purchase the parts from as well. During this lockdown, I've been a bit experimenting and decided that the steps that come with the Intex and Best Way pools are just not sturdy enough, especially for the mother-in-law. So I decided to build my own, which I think isn't too bad, really. Not a bad job. Utilising the old steps, I basically took the bottom part off the steps and then just drilled 2 holes in the decking part of the actual steps that I built, and it's as solid as you can imagine. That's just something that I decided that I'd go and do. This is the new pool that I bought last year. It's a 20 foot by 10 foot Intex pool. You can't buy these anymore. They've been superseded by the 24 foot, and this one here I was lucky to purchase a year before last at a real knockdown price off of eBay. But this one will certainly see me through the next few years. Right, onto the plumbing side of things. So one of the main questions I've been asked is, what is all this entail of? Well, to start with, as you can possibly see down here, you've got 2 pipes. One's the inlet and one's the outlet. So the water comes down the outlet, down this flexi one. One's a solid one and the other one's a flexi one. Down the flexi one into a solid pipe work, round the back, and then it joins onto flexi hose. These flexi hoses are readily available off of eBay. They're normally around about £10 or £11 each. I use quite a few of them because they are really good hoses. There's a myth to say that Best Way and Intex threads are not interchangeable. That myth is rubbish. I've used Best Way and also Intex hoses on both my setups, and the threads are interchangeable. You can use them on both. So it goes into the pump, out the pump, up through here, and then what happens here, this is where you have a multi-valve system. It's advised to have one. You don't necessarily have to have one. You could literally come out of your pump, into your heater, and straight back to your pool. However, if like me, you don't want the heater running all the time, what my advice is to shut the two valves off here and then just leave this one here open, the top one. This then bypasses the heater, thus not throwing chlorinated water through the heat exchanger unnecessarily. Although the heat exchangers mostly contain titanium heat exchangers, it's still not advisable to run chlorinated water through them unnecessarily. They will last a long time, but the less chlorinated water that goes through them, the better. These fittings here, you can buy off a site that I always use for all my plumbing stuff, especially hard plumbing, and that's UK Postal. They're readily available. I'll put links on the specific fittings that you need. And what these do is, most if not all heat pumps say that they're 50mm outlet. That's absolutely correct, but it's 50mm OD. What you're actually looking for is 1.5 inch internal diameter pipework. Okay, so what we do is we come out, we go onto these fittings which have a 1.5 inch reducer inside them, which once again, as I say, they then go onto the flexi hose, comes back up and goes back to the outlet. So what happens when I'm running the heater, water into the pipe, out the pump, up here, into there, down here, into the pipe work, into the heater, back out the heater, back out, up here, and then back down and into the pool. Right, one of the important things you must remember if you're using an automatic chlorinating feeder, yeah, always make sure the chlorinated feeder is the last thing the water goes through. The last thing you want to be doing is putting direct chlorinated water straight through the heater. Your heater won't last 5 minutes, honestly. You see all these heaters on eBay, oh, you know, the heat exchanger is blown. That's purely for the fact eventually they do rot out, and to pump direct chlorinated water that's not been properly diluted, you're just asking for lots of trouble. So the very last thing on your return feed should be your chlorinating feeder. If you have a combination chlorinating generating pump, which Intex 2 do, well, that's up to you. I personally wouldn't use one. I'd use a standalone one. If you wanted a chlorinating saltwater system, I would use a standalone one, and once again I would put that on the return feed. I would never ever put a chlorinating generated pump directly into your heater. The heaters cost a lot of money, and trust me, the last thing you want to be doing is, well, if your heat exchanger goes, you might as well forget about it. You might as well wipe the pump off. It'd be good for spares, but that's about as far as it goes. So the last thing, I can't emphasize it anymore, is that you're chlorinating, either your chlorinating feeder or your chlorinating salt water feeder must be on the return after your heater, never before. Okay, the other reason for having these valves, these multi-valves, is that the quicker your pumps the water through the heater, obviously what you've got to understand is that it's going through a coil system inside here. Now, what happens is that the water gets pumped in here, it goes through a coil system, there's an inner tube which is full of hot gases. The water passes over that hot tube and then comes back out through the outlet. The quicker it goes over that hot tube, the less chance it's got of warming up. So what you can do is to restrict the flow of water, is just simply turn the valves down. So if you turn inlet and outlet to the heater down, what you're doing then is just restricting the flow of water. You won't knacker the heater up, The heater will tell you if you restricted it too far. It will just stop and it will just say flow water, you know, inadequate. In which case you then just keep your pump going, open up your valves enough, and then the heater will start up on its own accord. Most heaters have got the flow switch built into them, and if you happen to turn these too far, then it will automatically just shut down until you put enough water back through the system. Obviously this restricts the flow of water, that way the water stays in the heater more, thus giving you a greater output on the other end. Right, these flexi hoses, once again, like I say, you can buy these off of eBay. They come in various sizes. I always tend to go for the biggest one. Currently the only one I can find on eBay at the moment is 1.2 meter long. You may well be able to find different lengths, but they're readily available, and you know they are a godsend. These fittings, once again, like I say, I will put a link and a part number on this video, along with all these things. The kits, the bypass valves, you can buy individually like I do, and I make my own one up. The fact that I have plenty of parts lying around in this shed, and you know, it's fairly straightforward. All you got to do is a bit of measuring, make sure you get yourself a decent pipe cutter, or you can actually buy them in kit form, but you still have to assemble them, and you still end up having to buy these bits at the end there as well to attach your flexi hose onto. Apart from that, really and truly, I think I've more or less covered most things. One of the other things that I always do say on my reply messages is a cover for your pool. Always try and buy the best cover you can possibly buy. My one's a little bit old now. I will be replacing it this year at some point. For this size pool, you're probably talking of a reasonable, decent cover, anything between £400 to £500. You may think that's a lot of money, but last year we had a few drinks one day. I managed to get the pool up to 32 degrees centigrade, which is its maximum I would go to on an Intex pool, due to the fact that these welded seams are only guaranteed to 34 degrees centigrade. We had a few to drink that day. We didn't go in the pool in the afternoon. The pool got ignored, but also got left uncovered. We got it up to 32 degrees on the Sunday morning when I woke up. Believe it or not, it had dropped that much that it took me 4 days to get the pool back up to temperature. So I can't emphasize, overnight generally I lose between 2 to 4 degrees centigrade. With the cover on it, that's the maximum. Without the cover, forget it. You're going to be down to 20 degrees centigrade overnight with ease. You know, if you lose between 10 and 15 degrees, 40% of your heat gets lost overnight if you don't cover your pool up. Apart from that, hopefully this will answer as many questions that has been put through to me over the last few months. Enjoy your swimming, enjoy your pool, your kids will love it. Have fun and stay safe.